From New York and New Jersey, down to here in Virginia, down to Florida, out to Chicago, out to California, and all points in between. Welcome, New York Jets fans. Welcome to your New York Jets versus Seattle Seahawks preview video. It is the next to last week of the regular season. The 7-8 Jets are traveling to the Emerald City to take on the Seattle Seahawks, who are also 7-8, also fighting for their playoff lives on the outside looking in. Now, a couple of things that we're going to talk about here with this game. Both these teams are coming in a little bit cold. They both dropped 5 out of their last 6 games. The Jets will be eliminated with a loss. Seahawks all but eliminated with a loss. It pretty much is do or die for both these teams. And as Jets fans, as you probably already know, we are rooting for the New England Patriots to just lose one more game, whether it's Miami this Sunday at 1 o'clock or against Buffalo the following week. Well, let's talk about this Jets versus Seahawks game. All right, so we're going to start when the Jets offense is on the field and facing the Seattle defense. I want to give this match a little bit more attention. I feel like the narrative all week has been Geno Smith going up against his old team and all this type of stuff. You know, will Tyler Lockett play? You know, Kenneth Walker, the running back, and all that stuff. I'm gonna save that for later. We're going to talk Jets offense first. So what do we know about the Seahawks defense? Well, they're not having the best season in the world. They're averaging 373 yards allowed per game and over 25 points per game. Both of those are 4th worst in the NFL. And particularly stopping the run, they're having a lot of struggles. They're allowing 155 rushing yards per game. That's second most only to the Houston Texans. They're also 29th in rushing touchdowns allowed. So we know the Jets have had a lot of problems the last couple of weeks running the ball, especially when Zach Wilson was at quarterback. You know, we saw Detroit do it. We saw Jacksonville do it. They'd stack the box, put all these extra linemen, or they'd put in a couple extra linebackers in on the line of scrimmage, and the Jets' offensive line has not been able to open up a hole for Bam Knight, for Michael Carter, for Ty Johnson. So now maybe with Mike White back on, they're going to have to respect the pass game a little bit more. Now, a couple of other things about this defense. They are not very good on third down. They've allowed 44% of opposing third down opportunities to be converted. That is in the bottom 5 in the NFL. They did force 4 3-and-outs against Kansas City last week. So they can play well when need to, but they're also prone to giving up explosive plays. Now, a couple of things about their personnel. Jamal Adams, our old pal, has been on injured reserve most of the season. You won't have to see him. If he did play, it might actually make it easier on the Jets passing game. But safety Ryan Neal, number 26, defensive tackle Al Woods, both trying to return from injuries. Al Woods in particular, he's one of their better defensive tackles. It's been weird. He did not practice, then he practiced, but on Friday he did not practice. Right now he's listed as questionable. Hard to know what he's going to be. But Uchenna Nwasu is probably their biggest pass rusher. Nwasu, 9 sacks, 9 tackles for a loss, 3 forced fumbles. Definitely got to watch out for him. At linebacker, they've got Jordan Brooks, number 56. Now, he's had a kind of a polarizing year. He's got 157 tackles. By far the team's leading tackler, but he's allowed the 3rd most yards in coverage of any linebacker in the whole NFL. He's allowing 612 yards per season, and he's giving up the highest quarterback passer rating of any linebacker in the league at 125.4. So this is a team that can allow big plays to the running backs and to the tight ends, particularly with the running backs when you're passing them the ball. So while Michael Carter hasn't had a whole lot to speak of in terms of good production the last couple of weeks, maybe lining him up in the slot and trying to get him running against one of these linebackers might be a way for the Jets to move the ball down the field. So Michael Carter, Ty Johnson as well. We haven't seen a ton of Bam Knight receiving the ball out of the backfield, but as a receiver, but it might be something to consider there as well. Now, Tariq Woolen, number 27. He may very well be the second best rookie cornerback in football. He's got 6 interceptions, and there's a lot of Seahawks fans, and we talked about this on a previous video this week, that there's a lot of Seahawks fans who believe that this is a showdown of some kind for Defensive Rookie of the Year. It's not. Sauce is clearly the better cornerback. And a few other things with Woolen. He gives up touchdowns. He takes penalties. He's taken, I think, he's in the top 5 with the most penalties taken among cornerbacks in football. But Patrick Mahomes didn't throw his direction last week. He only threw in his direction twice all game, and we know how prone teams are to not even testing Sauce Gardner. All right, a couple of other players. Cornerback Kobe Bryant. Yes, Sauce Gardner's teammate at the University of Cincinnati. Another rookie cornerback drafted by the Seahawks. That's going to be a good match. Elijah Moore, if he's in the slot going against Kobe Bryant, that's going to be a fun match. Moore's got more athleticism than Bryant does. That is a matchup I would look to take advantage of, is Elijah Moore on Kobe Bryant. I want to see if Bryant is used on Elijah Moore. And to just go back quickly to that Seattle linebacking unit, over 900 snaps in coverage. They've allowed 1,070 yards, 1.19 yards per cover snap. Bottom line, that is the second worst in the NFL out of linebacker units. These guys don't cover well. Okay, plus the defense struggles to stop the run. Seattle, it doesn't get much better against tight ends either. Seattle is allowing the third most receiving yards per game to tight ends, 65.2. The third most receiving yards per game to running backs, 48.9. I want to see the Jets' interior offensive line have a big standout performance. Now, to talk about how the offensive line has done the last couple of weeks, so everyone wants to talk about the quarterback, and I understand why. But the interior offensive line has got to take a hit. So in the last 2 games, I'm going to talk about Laken Tomlinson first. How about this guy, huh? Numbers, man, for all the money that they gave him, he has been an incredible disappointment, especially over the last few weeks. In the last 2 games, the Jets running backs have been given 11 carries that went to either side of Tomlinson, either to his left or to his right. Those 11 carries netted 25 yards, 2.3 yards per carry. Of those 25 yards, okay, 6 of them came before contact, meaning that Laken Tomlinson is creating 0.5 yards before a running back gets hit by a defender. That ain't getting the job done. Okay, and Connor McGovern, center. I'll tell you what, he was looking pretty good for the most part this year, I thought. But over the last 3 weeks, he's allowed 10 pressures, second most in the league among centers. That includes 4 quarterback knockdowns. And with the 10 pressures over 3 weeks, by comparison, in his first 11 games, he'd allowed only 13 pressures. So his play has dramatically fallen off. And even Nate Herbig, over the last 2 games, he's allowed 10 pressures, the most of any guard. So this interior offensive line, if the Jets are going to do anything, if Mike White's going to do anything, the 3 of them have to raise the level of their game. Okay, so I wanted to get all of that out first and talk specifically about the linebackers and how to address them and how to move the ball down the field on the Seattle defense. Now, let's do what we always do. Let's flip the script. When the Seahawks have the ball against the Jets defense, well, Seattle's got a pretty good offense, 348 yards per game on average, 13th in the league, averaging 24 points per game. That's 10th overall. Last week, check this stat out, against Kansas City. Kansas City's not known for being the best defense in the world, right? Last week, Seattle had 18 plays on first and second down when they had 0 or negative yards. Plus, they went 2 for 13 on third down. And I really think one of the biggest reasons why is that the absence of Tyler Lockett. He, number 16, is their go-to receiver on third downs and in the end zone. We talk about the athletic freak that DK Metcalf is, and he most certainly is. But Lockett is coming back from a broken bone in his left hand. He's got a team-high 8 touchdowns. As of now, he is expected to play. I'd be very surprised if he doesn't. The biggest question is, with a broken bone in his hand, if he gets a ball, can he catch it and hold on to it? We're going to have to find out on Sunday, but I would absolutely expect him to be playing. But our old pal, Geno Smith. Ah, yes, Geno Smith, number 7. Well, you got to give him credit. He made the Pro Bowl this year. It only took him 10 years to figure it out. So, hey, maybe in 8 years, Zach Wilson will ascend to this level. You never know. But Geno has 27 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, sacked 39 times, though. So he's been hit a little bit. Kenneth Walker is the main player to watch on offense. Number 9, he's been dealing with a little bit of an ankle injury as of late, but he's got 176 rushes for 802 yards, 9 touchdowns, plus 8 runs of 20 yards or more. Hasn't fumbled yet either, which is really impressive. And also, he has forced 41 missed tackles. That is 12th among 80 running backs in the league who have at least 25 rushing attempts. Now, we all know that the Jets have had a lot of issues with struggling to make tackles. There are certain players, Jordan Whitehead, who are, their idea of a tackle is a little shoulder block as opposed to wrapping them up. You have to wrap up Kenneth Walker, especially if you let him get outside. You don't want him to get outside towards the sideline and then turn the corner and have an opportunity to run downhill. Okay, so the Jets defense, particularly Quan Alexander, Quincy Williams, C.J. Mosley, and of course Jordan Whitehead, and whoever the other safety may be. We don't know if Lamarcus Joyner's playing. They have got to create, Michael Clemens even, Jermaine Johnson. All these guys are going to be responsible for containing Kenneth Walker and not letting him turn a corner on the outside part of the field. Very, very important. But with the wide receivers, with DK, we already talked about Tyler Lockett, but DK Metcalf, 86 catches on 128 targets this year, 1,005 yards, 6 touchdowns. I would expect DJ Reed on him. We know the Jets like to play their corners on one side. They don't shadow. And even though DJ Reed's given up a lot of inches in height to DK Metcalf, these two went at each other in practice for a couple of years. They know each other well. And it's going to be a very, very interesting contest to see those two go at it. Now, at tight end, this is going to be an interesting situation here. Will Dillsley has been one of their featured tight ends, number 89. He is going to miss the game with a knee injury. He's a very good run blocker, has very good yards after the catch ability. Probably their most well-rounded tight end, really. And the Seahawks like to play the 13 formation with 1 running back and 3 tight ends. That has now gone out the window, and they're going to have to figure out another plan on how they're going to do this. So now at tight end, you've got Noah Fant, who came over from Denver in the Russell Wilson trade. You have Colby Parkinson as well. But losing Dillsley is a very underrated injury for them. Now, just like we talked about the Jets' interior offensive line having some problems, Seattle's is not doing much better. You got Damian Lewis at left guard, Austin Blythe at center, and you had Gabe Jackson at right guard, but he may be missing this game now as well. But they have been struggling this year with powerful interior pass rushers. Do we know anybody on the Jets who might qualify as being a powerful interior pass rusher? I think he wears the number 95, and I think his first name starts with a Q. Just saying, he could have a pretty good game. And right tackle, Abraham Lucas. The Seahawks drafted 2 rookie offensive tackles this year. Charles Cross on the left side, 1 spot, by the way, before the Jets drafted Garrett Wilson at wide receiver. And on the right side, you got Abraham Lucas. And Lucas has been pretty darn good, but he hurt his patellar tendon in his knee against Kansas City, and right now he's listed as questionable. He has not practiced. He's barely practiced this week, I should say. And losing him would be another big blow to the Seahawks offensive line. So to me, this is a time for the Jets defensive line to have their get-right game. They did nothing against Detroit with Quinn Williams out. They didn't do much against Jacksonville, if we're being honest about it. The first drive of the game, when they had the strip sack, was great. But after the offense didn't score, let's be honest, I think the defense kind of mailed it in. I think just a certain spark went out of them. So when you have a struggling offensive line, which the Seahawks definitely have, you've got to get to Geno quickly, and you can't give him the time for these 2 wide receivers to have a chance to win their matchups, even though the Jets do have Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed. Getting that pass rush is going to make a huge, huge difference. I really think the Jets could turn Seattle over twice in this game. I expect them to have at least 4 sacks as well. I think the Jets are really good. Defense could really take this game over. Okay, a couple other notes I want to make here. One thing that the Seahawks do have going for them, they have a fantastic special teams unit. The special teams coach is Larry Izzo, who was one of Mike Westhoff's favorite. Izzo had a very good career throughout the AFC East with the Dolphins, the Patriots, and the Jets. Nick Bellore is their leader, the former Jets draft pick, spent some time in San Francisco. He's now in Seattle, and he is really their special teams captain. He's just made a long career for himself for 10 years. All the credit to him. They did lose safety Joey Blunt to injured reserve with a knee injury. He had played all 175 special team snaps, so that could take a little bit of a toll on them. And as far as their kickers go, well, Jason Myers, our old pal. He's made 65 of 67 kicks this year. He has a tendency to kick really well in even-numbered years, and it has been no different, although This game is taking place on New Year's Day. It's going to be 2023. So maybe the magic of an odd year, who knows, maybe that'll mess with Jason Myers. You never know. And their punter, Michael Dixon, averages 49 yards per punt, fourth highest in the league. So field position, something else to keep in mind here. So often it feels like the Jets are playing behind the 8 ball when it comes to field position, starting inside their own 20, whereas the other team's starting, at their own 30. Maybe a punt didn't go as well as you wanted it to, or there was a turnover, whatever the case may be. But the field position is something that if the Jets could just have a relatively, even performance there where it's not too drastic, I would actually consider that a win for the Jets special teams. And let's do a couple of Virginia Jets fans club notes. So the game starts at 4:05 this week. Okay, 4:05. Barry will be hosting halftime trivia this week. The prize will once again be a $20 gift card to the Jets online team store. We got one more regular raffle coming next week in the last game of the season against the Miami Dolphins. The chili cook-off will be coming during the playoffs. Stay tuned for more details about that. We just got to finalize the timing on that, and as soon as we have the news, we will let you know. All right. Well, that's all we got for today. Thanks so much for watching. Virginia Jets fans, I'll see you on Sunday at AJ Gators. New York Jets fans everywhere, you know what to do. Be proud. Be loud. Show out. Go Jets.